With ideas, you can bounce back and forth between the Advanced tab and the Layout tab only. So if you remember that you want to do something different on the building design or the layout, I can go back to the layout and I can say, well, actually, I want this to be a fully open wall. So I can click on the left end wall and I can go in here and just change this to 40. Make my bracing to a half load frame or even a fully loaded frame and say done. And you'll see here that I've got a 40-foot bay. All right, so once I say next, Advanced Design is one of those tabs that you want to make sure that you're going left to right. So you'll notice here you've got a lot of different options to choose from: your base condition, your girth offset, location, open walls, overhangs, liner, jamb, panels, and wainscot. So we're going to go through these for you. Typical industry standard today is the angle with trim, with base trim, with no notch. If you want a notch, again, you can choose a notch with a channel or a notch with an angle. For your girth offset, here's where you choose whether you want the girths to be bypass or flush. Industry standard on your sidewalls is going to be bypass. If you get into a wider building, wider than 100 foot, you may want to go bypass on the end walls as well, because that does save some money. Girth locations. So this is one of those tabs where if you don't choose anything, the design is going to default to be optimized. It'll start with 8-inch 16 gauge members, and if those don't work, it'll go to 14 gauge, 12 gauge, and then it'll up to 10-inch or 12-inch. With energy codes today, a lot of roof purlins have to be at least 10-inch if you have to do an R33 or above insulation system. So if you need to force the depth of the purlin to work with your insulation, make sure you choose at least 10-inch here, and that'll force the purlins to be 10 inches. On your end walls, again, if you don't put anything, it's going to optimize spacing. If you're somebody who likes a low girth always, so you always want a girth at 3'6", make sure that when you put this in, you can go in and put, let's see, I'm going to open the left end wall. So let's say on the front side wall, I want a low girth because I'm going to do some kind of specialty landscaping or a wainscot on the front. So I'm going to put in a girth at 3'5". What you want to make sure of, though, is that you always input your next girth, which is going to be the 7.333, or our standard is a 7'4" girth. Reason being is if I only put in the 3'6" girth and I don't force the one at 7'4", it may optimize to put the next girth at 8 foot. That won't work if you've got a walk door on the wall like we do on this particular building. So again, if you're going to force a low girth, make sure that you force the second girth as well, the 7'4". Then we go over to open walls. And again, I'm just going across the tabs at the top to make sure that we're hitting each one before we say next. So on the left end wall, we selected a mainframe. So if you'll notice here, I can actually click open end wall, and it's going to remove everything for this end wall. Why would I open the end wall? It could be it's going up against an existing building. I could be doing some kind of stud construction here as well, and so I want that wall open. It's grayed out on the right end wall because I left that as a bearing frame, which means I'm going to have bracing in this wall. There's not an option to do an open end wall. If you want to remove the girths and panels, you can do that. Remove the trim. You have an option to remove roof panels. Main reason you would do this is if you're doing like a frame only package. Let's say you're doing some kind of specialty panel that you're buying from a different supplier, or you have panel. That's where you can do a frame only package here as well. If you want the wall open partial height, then you can go in and say, okay, I want the wall open to 3'6". That will remove the material below when you put that in there. Next, we're going to overhangs. You have the option to do anywhere from 1 to 5 foot. And if you choose, so we're going to do a 5-foot overhang on the front side wall. Make sure that you note if you want soffit or not. So if I say include soffit, here, the standard default is reverse PBR 26 gauge. You can also do PBU panel. The Artisan L12 is a flat panel soffit. Reverse PBR 26 gauge is more the industry standard for basic buildings. Here's where it also put in the color for the soffit. If I'm not sure, then I can just I'm going to do a signature 200 color in there. Okay, so again, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 foot. If you have a building that you're doing 1.5, go ahead and price it as 2. You're going to be close enough that your number is going to cover you. Next tab is liner panels. You have the option on here to do liner panels to the 7'9" area, which is going to cover your main girt over your walk doors, or you can do full height liner. You can also do roof liner. So all of those are options again on the liner screen. Jam covers. This industry standard has been sometimes called full cover trim, jam trim. So if you the default is to provide full cover trim over the girts. If you do not want that, if you're doing an ag building or a building that's got a lot of forklift traffic and that typically gets torn off, you can go in and say remove the jam cover as well. By default, it's going to come for large openings, not for window and walk door openings. Next, we have the building panels tab. It defaults to 26 gauge PBR for both roof and walls. You also have the option to go to 24 gauge, Ultra Deck, which is the snap down standing seam, or Double Lock, which is the seamed standing seam roof. For the walls, you've got an option of PBR 24 gauge, PBU 26 or 24 gauge, or AVP or A panel in most cases, 24, 26 gauge. If you select a standing seam panel, it is going to ask you if you want high or low clips. If you're not sure for pricing purposes, select high, and then that will be verified based on what insulation system that you're going to use. Then we get to the wainscot. So if you're going to do a wainscot, you can tell it that I'm going to do it at 3 foot. My left end wall is open, so I won't have it there. You also want to tell it whether you're doing a panel lap with no trim. So you're just going to lap the top panel over the bottom panel at 3'5", or if you want to break the panel and you want a piece of trim in there, which is what I see most of the time. Particularly, it's just a cleaner. It's a cleaner look. So we're going to say panel break with trim. Again, we don't know what colors we need for pricing purposes, so we're just going to tell it we want a signature 200 wall. All right. So again, I've gone through each one of these tabs. I would encourage you to make sure that every time you come to this advanced design tab, you go through these whether you need to use them or not. Once I say next, I then move to accessories, but the layout that you've done and the advanced design options are locked in. You cannot come back and change these on this particular quote. So make sure you take the time to go through each one of these tabs every time that you come through this screen. So I'm going to say next. And at this point, the program is doing basically a shell design. So it could take up to a minute for it to run, but it's going in and doing a design based on the parameters that you've put in so far. The next screen is going to take us to accessories where we can add windows, walk doors, vents, if we want gutters and downspouts. And so once we get to the accessories tab, we're basically at this point doing add-ons. With the accessories tab, the price that is shown is a street price for those accessories. So when you see a cost for a particular item, that may not be the actual cost that shows on the contract. The program is set up so that if somebody was sitting next to you while you price a building, it's already got a markup in there for you to make sure that you would be covered if you were pricing something to somebody that walked in off the street. All right, so in the accessories, couple things to notice on this particular building. I do have a warnings that came up, which means there's something on my building that failed, probably because of my open wall, but we'll look at that in just a minute. But just notice if you have a warnings button up here that you do need to check your pricing before putting the number on the street. Under accessories, again, we've got windows, so 303s, 304s, 604s, so all of these are not insulated windows. So if you do need an insulated window price, please get with your account manager. For your vents, there's the 12-inch and 9-inch continuous ridge vents. Miscellaneous has pipe jacks for small protrusions through the roof. You also have the option of 3, 4, or 6-inch insulation in the roof or the walls. You can add gutters, and a lot of times people will just ask how much is the add price. So this gives you just a quick add price if you want gutters and downspouts. Again, this is a marked up price. On doors, there's 2 different kinds of doors, so please pay attention on the doors. Pre-assembled doors are doors that are going to come already put together as a kit. They'll come where you basically pull the door out of the box and then can install it straight into the building. A knockdown door is going to come like a kit door where you will have to assemble the door in the field. So you'll notice there's a significant price difference between the two. Because the knockdown door, again, is a self-assembled door, it is less expensive, but it does cost more time for the erector to put the door together. Pre-assembled doors also come with a lock set, so you'll need to choose whether you want a lever lock or a heavy-duty mortise lock set. With the knockdown doors, basically you're choosing what kind of leaf that you want. The M is a solid door. The N is a narrow light door that's in the upper side of the door. We do have an option for a solid insulated door, a G door, which is a half glass door. And please note, glass does not come in the doors. So they will have to buy glass locally to install in a G door. And then you've got 4070, the M and the NL, and then you've got 6070. If you do select a door, so I just clicked on one of these doors, it'll give you the option, or it'll show you how the door swing works. So the pricing is going to include, and it'll tell you what's included in that pricing. So if you choose a knockdown door, again, you must also choose a lock set. So you have a standard duty lever lock, a heavy duty knob lock, or you can also choose anti-panic hardware surface mount. There are other options for 6070s if you want integrals, if they're both active doors. So if in doubt, please again get with your account manager. The next tab is colors. So right now I've just got our primary signature 200, the silicone polyester color for the building. You can also choose Kynar colors as well. For your roof, it's defaulted to Galvalume, but you have the option for all of the silicone polyester or the Kynar colors as well. So here I want to see what the warnings are. So to see the warnings, I'm going to click on here, and it's going to tell me that I've got an issue with the roof panel. And so this one I'd want to get reviewed by design just to make sure, or I'm sorry, by the account manager just to make sure that this is not a problem. From here, I'm going to say next.